Hi guys, today's exercise is our clam. So this is one of my absolute favorite glute workouts. These ones are really just a base and then we build and build and build. Make it really hard until you feel like your legs are about to fall off. Perfect. So I'm just going to show you our basic sort of setup for this one so that you can master getting those glutes activated, can feel the correct muscles and know exactly what position you need to be in when you get into classes or if you're doing other videos. For this one, if you need a pillow or something to lay underneath your head, please get along and grab that. If you have very pointy hip bones on the side, need a little bit of an extra padding there, either grab a towel to lay on or a really thin cushion, but we don't want anything that lifts the hip up too much, so we don't want a big fat pillow. Get everything you need, and then we're coming down on one side. And we're going to start off. Now I always suggest for these ones, if you know that you have a bad or a weaker side, so if you've had an injury on one side particularly, then always start with that side first, just because our second side always works a little bit harder. But don't stress if you don't know which side is your weaker side. We'll probably figure it out by the end of this video. So for these ones, we are in our clam position, as we call it. So you start out making a beautiful straight line. So head to toe is beautiful and straight, bums pulled in, tummies engaged. Then we're going to slide the heels up towards your bum as far as you can without being uncomfortable. So it doesn't have to be a huge, big pull in so everything's tensed up here. We still want to be able to lay comfortably on our side. Heels, hip, shoulder should be making one beautiful long line at the back. So if you need to bump yourself up against a wall so you can feel that everything's in line at the back, go for it. Here we're making sure that the hips are nice and stacked. So we want them directly on top of each other. Really good way to tell for most people is if your knees are directly on top of each other. So if the top knee's pulled back, the top hip's falling back. If you push that top knee so it's laying directly on top of the bottom knee, then usually your hips will be perfectly aligned as well, unless you have funny hips and they're a little bit off. So just make sure that the hips are nice and even there as well if you know you are uncomfortable. Making sure our waist is nice and long here. So we don't want to be working the obliques up here, we're focusing on the glutes. So we're pressing the bum down and away from you. So you're imagining that you're lifting the waist up off the floor on the other side and giving yourself that nice sucked in tight tummy on the sides so that hip is pushed down and away. As you get tired, it will constantly creep up. And one of my biggest edits for you while you're doing class is pulling that hip back down. If you chuck your hand on top of your hip bone here and constantly push away from yourself, you'll be pulling yourself into the correct position. Making sure upper body is nice and relaxed. So you can have the hand out in front, you can have it holding that hip, you can have it pulling in your tummy if you want that reminder of your core, or just laying out in front of you. Bottom arm, I always chuck it up underneath my head because I'm looking and talking to all of you while I'm doing class, but you're more than welcome to lay all the way down on your arm, or as I said, if you need to, grab a big cushion, chuck that underneath your head so you can stay nice and comfortable. The aim here is that we just don't want to feel any strain in your neck. So if holding up is uncomfortable for you, please lay all the way down so that neck is nice and long and not feeling any tension. Now that you're in the start position, we're going to squeeze the heels together, engage that lovely T-zone area as we inhale. Then as you exhale, we're going to squeeze the glutes, so really tightening the bum back here and just lifting the top knee up. Really small, nice little movement, and then bring it back down. Exhale to lift, squeeze the glutes as you come up. Inhale to relax. Exhale up. Inhale, relax. Now all I want you to remember with this one is that your rest of your body shouldn't be moving with you. So it's not a whole body twist and turn. Everything else is completely still. That hip is completely still. It is just your leg moving. So you should get to a point where it feels sort of sticky, you can't physically move your hip anymore, and then your spine needs to twist to actually lift. You've gone too far. Push that hip forward. Again, nice long line at the back, hip down as well, and just lifting there. So if you're using that wall, so if you press yourself up against a wall or a couch, anything that you have to keep yourself nice and straight, you'll be able to feel as soon as you get that little bit of a tilt. Another good way of doing it is if you chuck your elbow on that top hip, place your hand on the floor. As soon as you feel your hip go away from the elbow, you know you've gone too far. So you're keeping that hip in contact with the elbow the whole time. Squeezing the heels helps engage the glutes, but sometimes it's uncomfortable if you have any feet issues. So you don't have to force them together, just be aware of it. Really focusing on tensing the bum as much as you can as you lift, and then relaxing as you come down. So we want to feel those glutes tightening and opening out. If you're not sure if they're doing anything, best way to tell is poke yourself in the bottom, and you want to feel tight glutes. We don't want wobbly glutes. As you lift up and back down, then they can relax at the bottom. You should be feeling discomfort in the muscles right on the side of the hip here. So these ones are where we're going to dig into. Our gluteus medius is where we're really pulling and feeling this exercise. Now, you've got all that. I'm going to swap over to the other side just to practice that as well. Same position on this side. Everything's in that beautiful, nice line. Heel, hip, shoulder. Tightening the tummy, making sure that your hips are nice and aligned so knees are on top of each other. Squeeze the heels and open the knee. Now you should be able to feel that one hip is usually more comfortable than the other. This is my good hip. It opens really easily. I have lots more range of motion. On the other side, I get sort of stuck about there. Just depends on you, your injuries in the past, or your mobility of either side. As I said, it's always good to do your bad side first, but if you forget, don't stress. We're not going to throw anything into an imbalance or anything like that. Squeeze your bum as you go up. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Now that's as exciting as this exercise is getting for you today. I really just want you to master this basic clam. Then when we get all adventurous, we lift the feet as well, and we start kicking out, doing lots of movements down here. But we'll leave that to class to really get you working nice and hard there. If you're not able to come to classes, but you still want to get that bum working nice and hard, jump on the website, go into the glutes challenge. There's 30 days of bum burners there for you. But I promise we'll get your glutes working nice and hard. Same thing on this side. We're just trying to avoid that tilt back as you open. So keep your bum pushed forward, hips down the way, waist is nice and long, tighten the tummy, and then squeeze, and we should be feeling it right on the side here. Perfect. Great work, guys. Keep practicing on both sides. Make sure you're nice and comfortable on both sides, and you can feel those glutes working nice and hard. If you have any questions, please send them through to me, and I will see you tomorrow. We're going to do an all fours setup tomorrow.